And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much you decided to come back for more. Folks, great decision because we have so much more for you. Oh, my goodness. I have a fabulous guest today. Been listening to her podcast, picking up all kinds of tips, taking notes. It's been amazing. She's got a fantastic voice. You're going to just get like lulled right into some sort of trance listening to this person speak. It's going to be amazing. This is the podcast, folks, that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. And my guest today, you guessed it, you cracked our code. It's a podcaster. Folks, this is the place where we come together to support each other. And this is the place, which I know you've heard before, where the rising tide truly raises all ships. Folks, let's get sailing and bring in our guest today. Please welcome the host of the Content with Character podcast, Emily Aborn. Emily, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Rory. And the compliment goes right back to you with a great voice and also a great podcast. So,
Oh, thank you so much. You already are scoring points right out of the gate. I mean,
all
I love it.
right.
So it's perfect. Okay, so Emily, I know we have a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to hear more about your podcast. Tell everybody, though, a little bit about Emily Aborn. Who is Emily? What are you about? And what brings you here today?
All right. Well, what brings me here is that we connected on Podmatch, which, by the way, if you are not on it as a listener, you got to get on it. It is the best for connecting to hosts and guests. Love it. Love Alex and their team and everything that they're doing. Um, my story, four score and 19 years ago now. Truth be told, when I was a little kid, I was like the kid that I feel like I was born to be like either in some sort of field with personality or sociology or like journalism, like something that captured the human experience. Okay. But did I follow that thread? No, I did not follow that thread, Rory. I went to school for health education because I'll tell you why. Because the marketing on the back of those cereal boxes is amazing. And I thought I had an interest in like health and nutrition, where I think really I was just interested in like the writing on the back of the cereal boxes. So I went to school for health education. I graduated. I proceeded to do absolutely nothing with my degree for years and years and years and years. And about 10 years into that journey of like not finding a job that was in my field, I opened a retail shop with my husband here in New Hampshire. We sold it's kind of like random and people often look at me like I have like six heads when I say this, but we sold organic mattresses and like non-toxic sleep products basically. So stuff for like a healthy night's sleep that didn't have like chemicals and dyes and formaldehydes.
Hmm.
So we did that for 5 years, and funny enough, the store was actually like it was in a plaza, but it was like the only standalone building in the plaza, and it was actually like a square. And it's very funny because the experience of owning that store was very much like putting myself in a box on an island, like being separate from everybody else. So after doing that, I realized one day that like I just felt like I was meant for more and I wasn't following whatever that more was. So my husband and I had the conversation. Like we weren't also really enjoying what we were doing together. Like it wasn't very good for our relationship to have that specific business together. It was like we would talk about it all the time. It was very limiting in many ways. So we mutually decided that we were gonna pivot away from that. And I was working with a mentor at the time, and she's like, "All right, I want you to list out everything you love to do in your business and everything you don't like to do in your business. And we'll kind of see where we go from there." So she also gave me the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. And it was like, you have to get out of your store and you have to go meet people. You have to go meet all kinds of people and learn their stories. So what I did in the process of that, I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I decided, you know what? Here's how I feel comfortable meeting people. I feel comfortable helping them. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to interview our chamber members and like take photos of their shops and like learn their stories and then do a write up on their story. And so I did that for a while. It was called Tuesdays on the Town because that was like my one day that I was out of the store. So I did that for a little while, and it really brought to light like a lot of the things I loved in my own business, which is the marketing and the storytelling and the like wordsmithing and just learning about the people in the world around me and helping bring those messages to life. Um, And I will say, I had kind of one foot in what I'm doing now and one foot in that for a very long time. It was like a major juggling act. And my husband's like, you're going to have to, start looking for jobs and stuff soon. I was like, well, let's just see if this takes off. Let's just keep seeing where this goes. And, I considered like other job opportunities and stuff. And then by the time we got to like closing day of the store, I think I had 13 paying clients that were like having me do their content marketing. And at that time, I was doing literally everything for people, but they were having me do things for them. And I was like, well, I guess I can't go get a job because I have a full client load. And, here we are. I'm an entrepreneur again. So that's sort of been my journey. Again, I really do feel sometimes like regretful that I didn't go to college to study business or psychology or marketing or communications. But I always believe that like our rambly, breadcrummy journeys bring us like exactly where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there.
Wow. I mean, that's a ton, and I love it.
All in one
Breadcrummy,
breath, too.
non-breadcrummy. Yeah. Did you breathe during that whole thing?
No, no.
I've noticed that you really do like to kind of invent words. When like on your podcast and stuff, you sort of make things up as you go. Like in terms of, there was one in the most recent episode. Man, I wish I could think of it now because it's the perfect time to bring it up, and it's killing me.
Well,
Um,
sometimes it's just that I don't know turns of phrase because I'm like bad with idioms, but my rule is to know the rules and then break the rules.
I got that. Yeah, because it's clearly intentional. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to say you don't know the word. It's just that
Sometimes I don't know the
like
words.
crummy, breadcrummy, non-breadcrummy. I'm like, that's perfect. It's great. Um, and I know you hate the word authentic, but it's very authentic.
I don't
So,
know. I don't hate the word authentic. I love the word authentic. I hate what has been done to the word authentic. It actually used to
okay.
be like I would call like my driving word. And then like everybody, the internet and ChatGPT stole it. So I had to pick a new one.
Chat, chat stole it. It's not the last thing chat's going to steal from us, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, as we move forward. Anyway, so okay, so that's a great story. So it's kind of went to college because of the back of a cereal box, and then oops, started a business. Sorry, can't go to work. I love this. This is great. And you clearly have a love for what it is you're doing because I mean you're beaming right now. You're
I
literally
do.
beaming right now.
I really, really love my job. And that is a good feeling to be able to say that even on the hardest days, I'm still really excited about what I'm doing. Like I would say I like 99% of my work. So
That's nice. That's really, really nice. And there's a lot of people that wish that they could say that about their jobs. So I love that. Now, in terms of your work, I know that you're a content copywriter. Okay. Tell everybody like exactly what it is. If someone's bringing you in to work with them, what is it exactly you're working with them on?
great question. And I have a fun story to tell you what it's not.
Okay.
So, yesterday I got this frantic email from a past client who I had written his website copy for. And he's like, somebody stole all of my website copy and everything on my website. I need your copyright help. And I was like, or where did the copyright laws fall into play here? And I'm like, I don't know. So I am not the copyright with like the little R and the little TM, like that is not, and the little C. Those are everything you publish onto the internet is copyrighted, but that is not my job as a copywriter. I actually write the copy, meaning the words that go on people's websites and blogs and in their emails and social media and throughout their marketing. They bring me in to write that for them. And it's often just actually translating what they're trying to say and putting it into words because a lot of people have it all up in their heads or in their hearts or in their gut and they can't actually type it out on their keyboard. So that is and I put the words content and copy together only because there's a slight differentiation where copy tends to be more getting you to take action on something. So copy would usually be for the goal of X. Like either I want you to buy this thing or I want you to contact me or take a next step. And content tends to be more foundational, educational, inspirational. It's kind of like everything else that isn't promotional.
Wow. Okay, great. I love that. I'm familiar with copywriting. I wanted to make sure that everybody who's listening is familiar with it. I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of writing myself. So I can appreciate how difficult that is for folks to have to come up with stuff like that. Now, if you're a copywriter for somebody else, though, I'm curious how deep you take it in terms of working with your clients, because there's writing is such a lost art at this point already. But there's tone, there's intent, there's is it playful? Is it serious? I mean, so do you discuss that first, or do you glean that from working with the people?
Why are you asking all my favorite questions? Also, thank you for asking what a copywriter is, just because I don't think everybody, I mean, even my client who I wrote his copy for didn't know what it was. So
Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate the clarity. I do tend to I don't take on a lot of projects at one time because I do tend to like very much immerse myself in their personality. I kind of like
Awesome.
chameleon a little bit into who they are and what they're trying to say. They fill out first, we have a call to make sure like it's a good personality fit. I've worked with a lot of people who either they don't know who they are, and that's come out pretty clear to me, or they don't really know what they want their business to do. And they sort of want me to tell them what their business should be doing. And I
Mm,
don't, that's not really where I come in. I
mhm.
come in when you have a little bit more clarity. Like, let's say, like, here's what I would like to be in the next 5 years from now, you know? So it's kind of like that sort of like future forward look. That's who we write to. Um, I ask them a lot of questions about not just them, because I really do love to get to know everything about them. Like, even what podcast are you listening to? What book did you last read? What shows do you watch? Like, all of that. What do you eat for breakfast? You know, all of those things tell me about who they are and how they kind of like view the world and what motivates them. But I also like to find out who their clients are and what their clients drive and what they wear, and
Mm.
like luxury. Think about this. The word luxury, for example, it means one thing to me here in New Hampshire, like on whatever income I'm making, compared to somebody who is the owner of a tech firm, you know, living in Silicon Valley. So even that word luxury means so many different things to so many people. So I like to understand, what does it mean to your clients when we say this, you know, and really speak to that person. So it's kind of a bridge of their personality with who they're trying to speak to. And I use a questionnaire. I listen very closely to them. I ask a lot of questions. So, and I also put them through like a red light, green light kind of thing. So I'll give them two directions for their voice. And I'll say, all right, we have direction A and we have direction B based on our conversation. Here's the goals that direction A would sort of help you accomplish. And here's the person it speaks to. And then B, and they don't know this, but I tend to use one. One is like a little more, here's where you could be, you know, like here's where I want to
Yeah.
get you to in your business. And one is kind of like what you're showing me right now, or like what's real comfy for you. And people, I don't push people out of their comfort zone. I think like whatever one you choose is totally fine. If they ask me for my feedback, of course I would give it to them, but that gives them that lets them know they have the gas and the brake, and they can say like, okay, we're going full force in this direction. That sounds like me. It sounds like my client. It's where I want my business to go. That's how I want to be reflected online. And then we go full steam ahead.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's a heck of a lot more than copywriting. And that's a serious talent to be able to immerse yourself in somebody like that. And I mean, learn them. And that's huge. That
It's
honestly is
fun.
huge.
I mean, it's
Wow.
the, you know what? I didn't go to school to be a therapist. So this is like the best thing I got, you know? I'm like, yeah, I'll just do this instead.
So you're like mind melding with these people. Like, okay, I gotcha. So that's fantastic. Okay. I mean, that answers my question completely. So I appreciate that very much. No, I know there's other things. You gave yourself a title in the podcast that I listened to, that you like to call yourself. How do you describe yourself and your job and what you do?
Small business copywriter. Is
Yeah,
that
there was
what you
there
were
was
thinking?
something else. I knew I should have written it down. Yeah, it was you were just describing your services and stuff. So, copywriting is what you do for folks. Is there something else that you do in that?
Maybe brand messaging. Like, I do help people with like what, like
That might
really
be it.
laying the foundation that they can then, like, say somebody doesn't want me to write for them, they want to write for themselves, or they want another writer to write for them. like even a virtual assistant or somebody on Fiverr like that. You're not going to get judgment from me if that's the path you choose, but I can help you set a really good foundation on like, here's the guidelines they should be following for you. Here's what your voice sounds like. That way they have a tether point basically for
Hmm.
everything moving forward. So
Excellent.
maybe that
Okay.
was it.
That might have been it.
Yeah.
And I apologize.
Word inventor.
I thought that was adorable when you were talking about it. It was like you're the not good enough type thing, but you're too good type of deal. I was laughing, when I heard it. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. A lot of it's funny that you said that about not being a therapist because even in some of the episodes that I heard, you're talking to people not just about writing words for them. You're actually coaching people through your podcasts about how they feel about their business, about their confidence levels, things like this. I mean, it was really kind of amazing. You span a very large um, area with what you work with people. How do you present that to somebody? Hey, come work with me, and I'm going to get inside your head, and I'm going to figure out exactly what makes you tick. I mean, without getting way too deep in the weeds.
Well, funny enough, I'm like the cobbler's son when it comes to my own messaging. So I haven't really mastered that yet, Rory, but it's a work in progress. And actually, I think even to that point, some things are probably going to change with the way I position my podcast. The word content is sort of losing its, I'm not making this word up. It's je ne sais quoi. It's just losing a little bit of it for me, thanks to ChatGPT. Um, so what I do right now is I just tell people that I work really, really collaboratively with them. Like this is a discovery process for them just as much as it is for me. And one of the ways I want to use my platform is just showing people that there is no right and wrong way. Like there was kind of like a 10-year period where everything was like, do this and you will get this, or put in this kind of formula and you'll get this as a result. You'll 10x this, you'll 100x this. And it got like super disgusting to me. And I was just like, that's not the way it works. Like everybody is on their own unique path. And like you have to advocate for yourself as a business and as a business owner to figure out what that path is. So that's kind of what I like helping people find out. But I mean, secretly, deep down inside, I'd love to actually like be able to coach them. That would be fun.
I like it. I love that you said je ne sais quoi, and then quick,
It's
it's folks. That's I don't know what in French. Just so you know, I mean that's
like
in
that
case.
special something.
Yeah, it's chef's kiss type of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. Do you find that most of your people I think you mentioned that in your podcast, that most of your people are coming to you almost saying, "Hey, tell me what to do."
It depends. I would say it's like 50-50.
Really?
There's definitely a level of trust you have to have either way. And so I think if somebody has none of that, it can be really, really hard to work with. I prefer when somebody kind of is like, here's the blank slate, like here's where I want to go, tell me what to do. And I'm like, ooh, yay, we can have some fun with this. But again, it's really collaborative. And so we have to be making sure at all stops that it's aligned with where they want to go. Cause I don't want to just like take somebody where I think they should go and not have it be you know, recip- uh yeah. Even
Gotcha.
matched. Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, I'm curious because you told us your story, about, the cereal box and how you love, that part of the marketing, so to speak, and everything else. But what makes somebody say, I want to go write words for other people who can't?
I think what happened was a lot of things that I figured out that I did not like to do. So when I was closing down that mattress store, I said yes to here's what happened. A lot of other business owners were like, "Ooh, I love your website. I love your marketing. I like your emails. I want you to do mine." And I was like, "Okay, great." And for a while, I was doing it all kind of in my own voice, but for them, like it was a little bit tailored, but it wasn't not Emily. And people would notice that. They'd be like, "Oh, I can tell you're doing so and so social media." And I'm like, that's not good. Like, I don't want you to be able to tell that I'm doing their social media for them. So I sort of realized through that process that, well, one, I realized I don't actually enjoy all of the things. Like I was building people's websites. I was in the back end of their email service providers, like connecting all the opt-ins. I was doing their social media posts, like coming to take the pictures, actually posting them. And that just was not fun for me, but I really liked the writing piece. So I read a lot during that time of like, you know, actually Story Brand was where I started, but just like really learning about the arcs and flows of like marketing speak and stuff. And then I kind of layered onto that, putting it into people's own brand voices and speaking to their clients and realizing, okay, this is not me speaking, this is Terry speaking, or, you know, Liga speaking. And so I would put that out. And then people stopped noticing that, but my clients would tell me it is amazing, you know, and like, this is so good. So it was, I guess it took me a while to figure out that there was a difference. And then once I did, I was like, oh, I'm actually really good at this difference. And I kind of just followed that. So did that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. That's great. It's funny. I coach podcasting, and I have so many people that I work with that just immediately go right to chat for, everything they ever have to write. And I'm so tired of reading chat generated content because it's exactly the same. It's as bland as yesterday's mashed potatoes, and it's just like, oh my goodness. And I've gotten to the point now where I can tell just from reading something.
Same.
I mean, like, and it's not even difficult. It's like, wow, this was chat because it's just plain, like so plain. And oh, this took half an ounce of thought, so this is much better. What you do is so much more intricate and more valuable than that. Do people recognize that? Do they give you your credit for what you're putting into
I
this?
my great clients give me my credit. My hope is that people don't see so much value in, you know, what my hope is that people don't lose their taste for great human writing, because I do think that you're right that chat has like taken over the internet, and I notice it and it's like glaringly obvious to me, and I'll have accounts that I used to love and follow and like soak up every word, and then they've switched to like using ChatGPT for this wisdom, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, this is so obvious. And
It
it's
is.
got all the tells, you know, it'll say, it's not this, it's this.
It's
And
this.
like, yeah, yeah. You're like, okay, we all know
Oh
where
my
that came from.
God.
It's
I've never heard
just,
anybody else put it in words. Oh, I love that.
and
Oh.
then like M dashes. I've told ChatGPT about 1,000 times I don't use M dashes. I would use a comma or ellipses, but I'm not going to ever use it. I don't even know how to use it on my computer. And it will still put them in every time. I'm like, oh my God. So I feel bad for people that actually use M dashes because they got that stolen from them. Thanks a lot, chat. But I really do hope that we don't lose that human connection with writing. I'll say this, like, I've thought about it. I think I've listened to podcasts that have posed the question, like, would you read books if they were all AI generated and they had some like they had a great plot, right? Like, I just finished Demon Copperhead and I was like, this book was amazing. Now, had I been like, oh, I'm going to read this AI book, and it was that same exact book, I don't think I would have thought it was as amazing. I think that for me, it loses a little bit of the art when it's not done by a human. And therefore, like, basically, if you didn't have time to write it, why would I have time to read it? Why would I take time to read it? That is not my original quote. That comes from another copywriter. But that's kind of how I feel. So I'm hoping that others share that sentiment and do see the value of it. I think when it comes to like a website specifically and like really reflecting your brand, I think that there are so many nuances that AI cannot capture right now, that it's not at the level where you can just say, here's my business, write me a website, you know, for $0.
Yeah, no, I agree completely all the way across the board. And I've done that. I've read the AI generated book, and not only can you tell it's AI generated, but it repeats itself. The patterns are obvious. Two-thirds of the way through the book, you're like, again, again, again. I mean, it's
Yeah.
predictable. You know what's happening. You can even pick up the way that they're using the phraseology that they've chosen for that book because they don't know when to vary it at all. And it's like beating you in the head with I don't know, stick. At some point, you can't take it anymore. But and then I'll read a book. You know, I have authors on my other podcasts all the time who really put time and effort and energy and love and everything into their books, and it takes on such a flavor of what they wrote.
Hmm.
And oh my goodness, it's night and day when you compare the two directly. So I'm glad to hear that your clients recognize what good writing is and that you're giving it to them that way because what you're doing is really amazing to be able to do it in their voice with their goals because you can read all that into writing. And I think people who get it.
Yeah, that's my hope. I had an experience recently where somebody said, "Oh, this sounds like," I gave her brand samples and she said it sounded like ChatGPT had written it, and I was like, "Okay, he did not." Like I totally took this from like the depths of my soul, and then what I responded with was another sample, and ChatGPT did write it. And they liked that sample. So I actually used that opportunity to part ways with them just because I'm like, I don't want to be writing websites with ChatGPT. That's not the kind of person I want to be working with.
Yeah,
And it was a good experience, I think, because some people do speak like that. Some people do write like that. And I think that for them, it's actually working really well. And that's okay. That everybody has their own kind of flavor.
I love it. I love it. So for what you do and the way that you do it, how do you go about finding your clients? How do you find your client that is meant for you?
A lot of my work so far has been, well, yeah, a lot has been word of mouth. I do work with a lot of website designers because so often when you're getting a website designed, you also need the copy to go with it. And you didn't even know you're like, wait, you don't do that as the designer? They're like, no, we just do the pretty part. And the making sure everything clicks where it's supposed to. You have to give us the words. And they're like, oh no, we don't know how. So a lot of my work is very closely working with website designers. And I have some absolutely fantastic ones, like probably about five or six that we work together all the time. We just know each other and our processes really, really well. Um, and actually, like Google has been doing some wonderful things for me lately and connecting with me with people far and wide all over the world. And I have to say to anybody who is trying to rank on Google, like it is a long game and it is a long painful game, but when it starts paying off, it really really it kind of like makes me feel like, I don't know, this sense of like, you did it, Emily, yay, you ranked. But really, Google has been a good source for me. And then just meeting people. Like I've just spent my past decade, I think, just having conversations like this one and getting to know different people. So
Nice. That's
yeah.
the best kind of marketing
Yeah,
out
I
there, really.
agree.
So I love it. How long have you been doing this?
Since 2018 as a copywriter specifically.
Okay, so 7 years.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Checking my math right now because
No, me too. I'm
I'm
like,
going.
I don't know, Rory, you tell me.
Okay, I should be able to do this math in my head. Don't make me go get a calculator. Hold on. Okay, and then how long have you had the podcast?
Well, that's a fun story. So my first podcast was called She Built This. And the way it came about was actually in those interviews with people through the chamber. I was like, you know what? I want to start a podcast and tell people stories. So I took this class at a local podcasting studio, and I actually ended up taking the class twice because I was like, well, I don't know enough the first time, so I need to take it again. So I took the class, and then I ended up like using his studio, renting the studio, and having him as my producer. And I would bring guests in and interview like entrepreneurs from New Hampshire specifically, or like anybody that would drive to me. So Massachusetts and New Hampshire, but Massachusetts doesn't like to cross the line too much. So we'll go there. They don't come here.
Okay,
So I would interview people in that there, and that kind of like spurred into this whole group program and membership and events, and like it was a whole side business in addition to the one I had started on my own. And I think it was in 2023 I sat down with my friend Alicia Galati, who is the owner of Galati Media, and I was like, okay, something's not working for me with this. She built this podcast. I was no longer recording in person. I was then doing like virtual interviews because you can meet people all over the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I was like, it's just not like it's not getting me clients for my business, and it's just not feeling like fun and lively anymore. And I'm feeling like it drains me more than it lights me up. So she looked at me and she's like, well, maybe you should start a second podcast that's like all for your copywriting business. And I was like, you're crazy. You are just actually crazy. And I was like, no, thank you. Goodbye. This was fun. Here's your money. Goodbye. So I sat on it and I'm like, you know what? I think she's right. I think I need a second podcast. And so that podcast started in May of 2023. I actually launched it on my birthday. And so I've been doing that for just 2 years, but that slowly helped me realize that I can have these same kind of conversation experiences as a guest, and then I can focus a lot more of my energy onto my show. And I slowly sunsetted the She Built This podcast, which does not stop people from pitching me to be on the She Built This podcast, but it is no longer active.
Wait a minute. What? Somebody's pitching you to be on your
the,
own defunct podcast?
yeah, the last episode is literally called The Last. This shows you how people are doing with their pitches, Rory. The last episode is called The Last Episode, and I get probably 4 or 5 pitches a week to be on that show. I'm like, okay, go look at the feed. Yeah, it's crazy.
So someone stole your stealing your podcast, or what are they?
No,
I don't. What are
no,
they?
sorry. People are pitching to be a guest on that show, and the show
Okay.
is no longer. And it blatantly says like the last episode.
I was just not reading what you were telling me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Now I
That's
totally
okay.
get how ridiculous it is. I thought you were saying someone was like pretending to be you and trying to
Oh
bring
no.
somebody on, and I'm going, why would anybody want to do that?
Okay,
But
that's
I
funny.
the other way, I get it. I get it. Yeah, there's a lot of those podcast promoter folks who are just not my
Yes.
favorite people, unfortunately. And
Yes.
and I don't hate anybody. I mean, nobody really. And I don't even hate these guys. But um, this is the podcaster nation. The first line of the whole description is for podcasters.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a really difficult code to crack,
No.
and I get everybody sent to me, people who have never had a podcast, don't podcast, and these promo guys just send it off because all they're doing is going click, 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 click. And I'm like, listen, man, I have to respond to this.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
On Podmatch you
right.
do. Yeah.
So AO, wake up. But that makes sense to me now because there's all these people out there who are just, clicking away. Oh, there's podcast. That makes sense. Fits my parameters. And they're not even looking to see that you haven't done an episode in how long. And that
Yeah.
the last one says last episode. Wow, people are amazing. But okay, so now we've shifted into this podcast. It's been a couple of years. There's a lot of ways that people use their podcasts. Now, I've listened to a couple episodes. I'm not going to surmise this. I'm going to let you tell the listeners, how do you utilize your podcast in relation to your business and your overall goals for where you're going?
Okay. I think I have two answers, and then I'll love to hear what you surmise. My first answer is that a lot of people who are in my world want to do things themselves or do them with the help of somebody else. And this allows me to give them like a lot of free assistance and free advice and free information, and also lead them to smaller kind of offerings if they want to work together. So that's answer number one. The other is a form of just like self expression and like having a place where I can share thoughts and ideas that are unique to me, test them out. It's like my playground, really. It's where I try stuff out, see how it fits, see how it works, and see if that's like part of my business and stuff. As far as like I would say like my one-to-one website copy clients, a lot of them will listen after we've worked together, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a super driver for people starting to work with me. I don't think. I'm trying to think of like anybody off the top of my head that's come in through that way.
Okay. All right. Excellent. If you think of somebody, I mean, feel free to raise your hand and we'll just stop what we're talking about. But
Okay.
the first answer is kind of what I thought. I thought it was kind of a like educational, free content, um, impress folks, get them moving along, their own journey. And when they realize, hey, I do need some help, they're going to go to the person who helped them out and got them
Yeah.
to that point. They're going to come back to you. So maybe a little lead gen, activity, that type of thing. But hearing that it's not really lead gen, it sounds very much educational, free content and more like brand building,
Yeah, that's
almost
what it
for you.
feels like to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and there, do you find there's a certain amount of credibility that comes with having a podcast as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I've always just really, I'm sure you feel the same. Like I've always just really, really enjoyed it. So I feel like since I was like the kid that had the tape recorder and would like be like, I'm doing my cooking show while I make macaroni and cheese, and I would like a little scoop of this. It's just always been something I really, really like. And so it for me, it just brings a sense of satisfaction. And I turn it into a lot of other things or vice versa. So like I will turn a podcast into a blog. I will turn a podcast into a whole workshop. I will turn a workshop into a podcast. So I like to just kind of like make sure everything is cohesive in that way. And that's what I mean about it being my playground. Like sometimes I'll try something on there and it'll be a really good episode, like a really big hit. I'll get a lot of feedback on it and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to turn that into a workshop for Score or whoever I'm doing a workshop for this month. And that seems to work really nicely too, because it tends to be what people are interested in there or what people are interested in elsewhere in the business world.
For sure. Yeah, my guess was the first answer, but the second answer is the one that I like the most because I love when people are just passionate about what they're doing and when they're
Yeah.
just doing it for enjoyment. I think it's fantastic. There's people who have actually told me, look, I don't know if my podcast gets to anybody, but it's great therapy for me. Just lets me talk through everything. And I'm like, you know what? You keep podcasting.
Yeah.
You keep podcasting because that's cheaper than going to any therapist anywhere in the world. That's fantastic. I love it. So I love that answer. I really do. My playground for trying new things is beautiful. So, okay. I love that answer about the podcast. So you have, um, let's see, the podcast itself is not monetized, right? I don't remember hearing anything like that or anything of that nature when I was listening.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that an overall goal to get to that point with the podcast, or is it really just I'm monetized over here, this is my business, and the podcast is a like a marketing arm and that type of thing?
Yeah, I would consider it a marketing arm. I do track actually how much income I generate through my podcast, either from affiliate marketing on like Podmatch, Buzzsprout, and also just anybody that does take me up on workshops or smaller offers. So I track that and it pretty much does pay for itself throughout the year, which is always a good thing to see. I like to see
Yeah,
returns
excellent.
on investment. But other than that, I don't specifically use it for income. I just used it as a piece of my marketing pie, as I like to say.
Got it. So then, how do you, given that it's not necessarily a business of its own, the podcast, how do you decide how you're going to market the podcast in concert or, along with the business itself?
So that definitely, I use my email list a lot for that because, again, it tends to not be where my clients are actually on my email list. Like a lot of my one to one clients are not on my email list. Those tend to be more of the podcast listener kind of fans. Um, I also use like speaking engagements. I use guest opportunities like this to let people know about it. So it's things like that. And then I mean, social media, advertising our podcast on social media feels like, I don't know, what's it called? A Sisyphus when you're trying to like push that rock up a hill. It seems so complicated. So I would say primarily those avenues.
I see. You've made several very in-depth, um, faith-like references. Am I picking that up just a little bit?
I don't know if I didn't know that one was faith like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's actually straight from the Bible. So I wasn't
Oh,
sure
there you
if
go.
that's where you were going with that,
Well,
or
I did grow up in a religious home. Yes.
I see. Okay, all right. Does that play any part in your business at all?
No.
No. Okay. I just didn't know if that was somewhere you were wanting to go. So I figured I better just ask because those are some very unique references. So you've got a serious vocabulary. It's really impressive.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been reading since I was a little kid, so that's the only thing I can say for
And
it.
please don't take that in condescending in any way. It's like just, I mean, you really have pulled out a few phrases and words that I've been like, wow, you know,
Everybody's like over there with their dictionary. Like, darn this
maybe,
episode.
maybe they're Googling, while put this in the background. What was this? How do you spell, Sisyphus? All right. No, I thought that's fantastic. But I mean, you are a writer. So, knowing every word for every circumstance is probably helpful.
But I'm not kidding when I say sometimes like turns of phrase and idioms I do not get, and I get them out of order all the time. So my husband always be like, "That's not how you say that," like batting it out of the park. I don't know one off the top of my head that I mess up, but I will mess them up all the time.
I was
And
just gonna ask. I was like, you got to
yeah,
give me one that you've butchered. Then, I mean, is
I'm
there
like,
anything you can think of where it's like, hey, I totally trashed this
what
one
is it like? A
saying
bird in the hand is better than one in the bush, or something. Like I'll be
you were
like,
close.
yeah. See, I don't know. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. That's one I know.
That's one. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. That's great. All right. Let me throw in my corny question right now because it's kind of like my Arnold Schwarzenegger "I'll be back" thing. I just like to get it in all my episodes because we usually get some pretty interesting answers. And I should probably start taking down a vocabulary list for what's going to happen with this answer with you. But we'll just see. Get your Google stuff ready, everybody. Here we go. So, what in terms of doing your podcast for your business, what is it about doing your podcast that you love the most? And what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely, positively would love to throw out the window, never see again, dislike the most?
What I think I love the most is the opportunity to connect with people all over the world on like a deeper level. And you know what I love about podcasting? I love that when we're listening to podcasts, it's basically just us and the podcast. Like we might be walking or doing our dishes or, you know, folding our laundry, but we're that's a pretty alone moment that we have throughout our day to just kind of like take in information or inspiration or news or whatever it is and just like enjoy some time to ourselves. So I think I love that I get to be the person on the other side, like spending that time with people. It's like coffee hour that I don't even know I'm having with them, but I get to have it with them. And also like being able to connect with people all over the world, that feels really good to me. The only thing I don't really like about it is just I think, and I hear this all the time, is how hard it is to, because the podcast diverse is very saturated. It can be really really hard to market your podcast and to like find new listeners. And it that also can cause you to get a little bit up in your head about it. Like, well, am I ever going to grow past this listenership? Because do people just not like me? Is that why they're not listening to it? Like, it does a lot of stuff to your brain that you have to work through, which that ends up for me being a blessing because I like self development, and I think our businesses and being visible, especially in our businesses, is some of the best self development that we're going to get. But marketing podcasts is probably just hard. It's just hard, but I wouldn't say I don't like it. I just don't like that it's not as fast as I want it to be, you know?
Yeah, good deal. I love the spin you put on that second part. It isn't just about, oh, marketing's not good. It's what it does to you,
Mm-hmm.
and having to worry about it and taking on that pressure of why isn't my podcast growing the way I want it to and everything else. Do you find that is consistent through, having a business, being an entrepreneur, and having to, live off what you sell, so to speak?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, there's so many like head games I could go through that it throws you, but like imposter syndrome, I mean, that term is overused, but like when you really think about it, there is that feeling of like, oh, I have all this expertise, but I can't talk about it and I can't show up like that. Like I don't feel like I can say that about myself because I'm not an expert, because I didn't go to school for that, because I haven't had 15 years of experience, like whatever the story is. There's all kinds of stories we write about ourselves, and your business makes you face those stories. And a lot of people, it's like money issues, like they're like, oh, I can't charge that. And that is hard for me to watch people. I'm like, no, you can. Like I have a woman who writes for me, and I'm always like, she'll give me her price. And I'm like, and I'm going to add $300 to that because that's ridiculous. Like I'm not charging the client that price. And that is not what you're worth. So for a lot of people, it's the money story. But there's all sorts that we come up against. And I think you really do face the mirror of yourself in your business a lot. And for some people, that's too much. It's like too hot. I don't want to see this. And for some, they learn to overcome some of those things. And that I think is where the real growth happens.
What an absolutely wonderful answer to that question. That
Thank
that
you,
was just
Rory. I need you like
fabulous.
on my shoulder all day. Like encourage me. Good job, Emily. Good response to that email.
Well, we have a lot of podcast episodes. You can just put them on, play,
Yes.
continual, right? You and the podcast, I'll be right there. I mean, we got 80 episodes of just this one.
All right.
So,
Deal.
all right, there you go. Although I'm about to put out an application to come write for you. I mean, if you're paying like that, my goodness, an extra $300, shoot, it's better than what I'm making. It's pretty good.
We'll see how you go.
Yeah, you're like, hey, send me a sample, but there's
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
guarantees, pal. Right.
Send your resume.
I just have to have Chat GPT write it for me real quick and I'll shoot it over to
You'll
you.
be all set.
Yeah, right. Okay, wonderful. I love it.
No fluff though. No fluff.
No, no, nothing at all. I'm a pretty fluffy writer, so it's pretty bad. You just called me out on that when you haven't
Oh
even
no,
really read
Chat
my
GPT
stuff.
always says no fluff. He says
Yeah,
no fluff.
I'm like all fluff. That's the problem. Um, we've covered a really wide range of stuff today, because of honestly because of everything that you do and the way that you do it, which I think is awesome. I love that you take so much pride and so much ownership of what you do for the people that you do it for. It's really clear that you want to really do the best job you can do for your clients, and that's just coming through with every word that passes over here. So I want to give it an extra question in here, before we hit the normal last question. Everybody knows what the normal last question is. I know I'm predictable, but you know what? I want to ask one more in here before that question. Okay, so is there anything that I didn't ask you that you really want to get out there? Is there something that maybe we talked about, but you want to drive home a little more about who you are or what you do or anything like that? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something here with what you do because it's very intricate what you do, and I don't think people quite get that.
I got some really great advice from Frank Iglesias, who is also on Podmatch. I wish I could remember the name of his podcast off the top of my head, but I cannot. And he said to ask the host a question. And I actually have one for you. So that's what I'd
Okay,
like
well,
to use
and
this
that's
for.
all time we have today, folks. So thanks for coming, and we'll
I
see
just
you.
want to know what you like to write, Rory.
What I like to write.
Yeah.
Wow. I really, really enjoy writing nonfiction. I've written two books. One was not good. It was on sales. It was my first try, but at least I got it done. The second one was on my weight loss journey, which was really emotional and tough, and that's
Mm.
actually done very well. And so, I mean, I was very happy with that one. It's called the 5% Diet. It's on Amazon. In case any of you guys ever want to look it up, it's five with a percentage sign. Just type in Rory Pocket. It'll come right up. Orange cover. Anyway, just shameless plug. But I like to write nonfiction about stuff. And more than that, I like to write motivational training type coaching stuff.
Yeah.
I've coached young people my entire life, all the sports, all my kids went through all of it, and I was always the head coach of everything. And so those were the best years of my life, still are, absolutely love them. And so I like to write that kind of thing to help motivate not only parents and players, but also young coaches who feel like they don't know enough to go out and actually be experts and help young people. So that's the stuff I like to write
Awesome.
about.
Where do you get to share it?
I don't share a lot of it yet.
Okay, you should get on Substack. I feel like that is your platform. It is screaming your name.
Oh my gosh, how did I know you were going to say Substack? Oh my gosh.
And that's what
Um,
I'd like to share, folks, today. Substack.
That's the thing. All right. Do you have, is there like an affiliate link or anything? If you send me a link and I sign up through you, do you get a
No, it's a totally
percentage?
free platform. I mean, I think go on to Substack and use it as your playground and not expecting to get anything back from it. And that's the best way to approach it. Cause I think a lot of people charge on Substack. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick of paying for subscriptions. So,
All over
but
the place, right?
it's a really good way to practice some of those things that you might want to write about outside of your business. And I think I would encourage like I use that as like my experimental writing ground because I don't know what I want to write outside my business, but I know it's something. So that's what I would say. And I would say it to you and anybody listening that's like, I want an outlet to write and I don't know what that is.
Well, I appreciate that. No one's ever done something like that to me before. So congratulations and kudos on just turning the tables on me. All right. Thanks a lot.
You thought you were surprising me. There you
I,
go.
I mean, my goodness. I love it though. Thank you for that. That was a lot of fun.
You're
Wasn't
welcome.
ready for that question, folks. So it's the best answer I could come up with. You know, what I mean, all right. Well, that takes us to the last question. So I like to close and wrap things up with what is your best piece of advice for podcasters who are simply not quite where you are yet?
You might disagree with this, and
Wow, here we go.
I actually want you to disagree if you do. But my best piece of advice, I think, is to listen back to interviews that you do, solo episodes that you do, and guest opportunities that you're on. Doesn't have to be every single time, but once in a while, because I really do think that if I hadn't listened back to those early She Built This podcast episodes, I wouldn't have gotten to where I got so quickly because I was able to see, like, oh, I say that a lot, or I don't have any structure when I'm talking about this thing. I go on tangents with this. And it really did help me. And when I listen to this, I'll probably be like, wow, I need to shut my mouth, So it gives you a lot of information about how you talk and where you could improve. And for me, it's been really, really helpful.
That's some great advice. You want me to agree or disagree with this? That's what you said to
Yeah.
me? Okay. Okay. You're on the verge of becoming my best guest ever. First of all, I mean, with all the stuff you keep leading in here, and I love that. Not only could I not agree more, but this gives me a chance to plug this to anybody who's listening at this point when this episode comes out. In case you missed it, I did a three-part series on how to be a better host, episodes 67, 68, and 69 of this podcast. And in those episodes, I actually gave the exact same advice. You must go back and listen to the finished copy, like off Spotify or iTunes or something, of your episode or on YouTube. Watch your mannerisms too. Do whatever it is you want to do, but absolutely go back. And because you're going to see things that the guest may have alluded to, and you totally missed because you were worried about the next
Mm-hmm.
question. You're going to hear you respond to something and bring something up that had nothing to do with what anybody was talking about, and you're going to go, "Where was your head at that moment?"
Yes.
And you're going to get to hear you totally miss somebody's name or some other, goofy thing. And you're like, just going to beat yourself up for a minute and go, all right, mental note, make sure I don't do that in the future. So it's the best self-evaluation you can do is to listen back to your own episode. So I
Yeah.
am 100% in agreement with what you just said.
We didn't even plan that. That's
No,
awesome.
we
And,
didn't.
and I would say do it not judging yourself. Like it's already out in the world, so you have to be accepting of what is, but just use it as a place to move forward from.
Absolutely. Give yourself some grace. It's already
Yeah.
done. Learn
Yeah.
from it. Move forward. Absolutely phenomenal. This has been a blast. You're
This was
amazing.
so fun.
I
I feel
honestly
like Tracy, my cheeks hurt from smiling. So
thank you for that. I appreciate it. You are the host of the Content with Character podcast, Emily Aborn. Emily, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing everything the way you did, just being you, being authentically you, which still means something to some of us purists. And just for everything that you're doing, I'm wildly impressed with everything that you're doing and the way you're doing it. Thanks for being on today.
thank you, Rory. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely my pleasure. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation. This is the podcast that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. We have proven yet again today that, folks, this is truly the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.